Good evening po sa inyong lahat, lalong-lalo na po yung mga nanonood via FB Live. Unang-una po gusto ko pong bumati ng happy 30th anniversary to Jesus Wants to Tell You Catholic Charismatic Ministry. I think it's the best time to remember all the members, whether they are active or not, because if not for everyone's efforts, we'll not be able to reach this point. And also, I would just like to thank God, because if not for His provisions and grace, we'll not be able to come and reach this point. Maraming salamat po, Diyos. 30 years, hindi siya maikling panahon, di ba? Actually, I'm a bit older than Jesus once, almost 30 years. But come to think of it, yung mga senior servants natin, like unang-una na dyan si Sister Elsie, and si Ate Christy, si Ate Tita Bambi, actually, sige na, sabihin natin si Ate Janet. Okay, they all look young for their age, di ba? So, para silang magkasing tanda lang, or magkasing edad rather, than Jesus Wants to Tell You. Ano kaya ang sikreto? We will ask them. So, the topic for our Bible reflection for tonight is, where is God during pandemic? Nasaan ho ang Diyos ngayong panahon ng pandemic? And within this topic and discussion, we'll try to answer 3 questions. Ano-ano ho to? Did God allow this pandemic to happen? Number 1. Number 2, why did God allow this pandemic to happen? Bakit hinayaan ng Diyos na magkaroon tayo ng pandemic ngayon? At pangatlo, how should we live during pandemic? Yan po yung mga katanungan na susubukan po natin sagutin ngayong gabi. So, can you just ask the person beside you? Baka naman kasi alam niya ang sagot. Where is God during pandemic? Diba? Sige, I'll give you time. Nasaan ang Diyos ngayong pandemic? Okay. Sumagot ba? Kung hindi sumagot, try natin sagutin ngayong gabi. So, punta muna tayo sa question number 1. Did God cause this pandemic to happen? Siya ba ang dahilan kung bakit may pandemic ngayon? For me, personally, the answer is no. God is not the cause of COVID-19 or any other pandemic. Why? Because in Mark 10, verse 18, it's written, no one is good except God alone. Walang mabuti, kundi ang Diyos. And in 1 John chapter 15, chapter 1, verse 15 rather, God is light. Ang Diyos ay ilaw. And in Him, there is no darkness at all. And if COVID-19 is similar or can be related into pain and suffering, darkness, at lahat ng paghihirap, kawalan ng buhay, pagkakasakit, kawalan ng hanap buhay, kawalan ng trabaho, kawalan ng pagkakakitaan, pagbagsak ng mga businesses, I don't think that God is the cause of this pandemic. Because, according to Mark, God, no one is good except God alone. And in 1 John chapter 1, verse 15, God is light. And in Him, there is no darkness at all. So let's just look back dun sa istorya ni Adan at Eva, Adam and Eve. So we knew when they chose the wrong decision, we knew that the earth will not live a perfect life at all. Diba? So we knew that until the day of judgment, when the mortals become immortals, when death has swallowed up in victory, when death has been swallowed up in victory that day, dun lang tayo magsisimula ng perfect life. So, from the history, Adam and Eve, and all the timeline, alam natin na magdudusa ang mga mamumuhay sa mundo. So, actually, in Romans chapter 8, we know that this whole creation, it is written, will be groaning in pain like the pain that the woman is experiencing during childbirth. Sa mga nanay po na naka-experience na po ng panganganak, di ba? Gaano po kasakit. So the way we live on earth is being compared to a woman's pain during their labor or pain in childbirth. Meaning to say, we will not live a perfect life. So don't expect a perfect life here on earth. That's why we have suffering. That's why we have pandemic. So death and suffering is reciprocal to pandemic. And we have a God who is just and will not be the cause of that. Kung babalikin natin, hindi tayo namuhay ng like living in a paradise because of the sin of our ancestors. So, sinong cause? Sino ang nagdulot ng COVID-19? Then it is written also by John in Revelation chapter 12, verse 12. Sabi doon, he is filled with fury. Mamaya explain natin kung sino tong he, because he knows that the time is short. Ibig sabihin, John talked about the red dragon, he talked about the evil, he talked about devil and the enemy. Isang tao yan, the fallen angel. So the fallen angel is working double time because at first, galit na galit siya, and he wants to devour whoever is available. He's working double time because he knows that his time is short. His time is short before this final judgment. Kaya nga, he's working double, triple time just to recruit other people and not believe in the Lord. So, who is the cause? Not God, but most possibly it is the work of an enemy, or it is a work of the enemy. And sad to say, during this pandemic, na lahat ng tao naghihirap, lahat ng bansa, they're closing their borders, lahat ng businesses bumabagsak, lahat ng routine ng mundo ay tumigil, even churches are closing, lahat ng tao nakakaranas ng panghihina, ng depression, ng anxiety. And I think the enemy is using this to create an opportunity to recruit other people and for them not to believe in the Lord and not to believe in Jesus Christ. So that's why if the enemy is written in Revelations that he is working double time because he doesn't have enough time to recruit other people, then we Christians, we have our vision, and if the enemy is working double time, we have to double, triple, quadruple the efforts in doing our mission. So, did God cause this pandemic to happen? Or did God cause rather this pandemic? Yes. Or rather, did God cause the pandemic to happen? The answer is no. Because the following question, which is, why God allowed this pandemic to happen? Ang Diyos ay makapangyarihan sa lahat. Bakit niya hinayaan na mangyari ito? Hinayaan nga ba ng Diyos na mangyari ang COVID-19? At ang sagot ay yes. So first question, the answer is no. God did not cause this pandemic, but He did allow it to happen. Para mas malinaw. So, bakit nga ba niya hinayaan na mangyari ang pandemic? God is omnipotent. God is all-powerful. And He is also omniscient. God is all-knowing. He knows everything from beginning to end. He knows our life. even from the beginning, he knows that in 2019 there will be a pandemic called COVID-19. So, but why did he allow this to happen? According to Romans chapter 11, the depth of the knowledge and wisdom of the Lord, it is impossible for us to understand even His decisions and His ways. So, ibig sabihin, kahit basahin natin lahat ng libro, basahin natin, ikonsulta natin ang mga pinakamatatalino ng tao dito, hindi, kahit na itong talk na to, hindi natin masasagot why did God allow this to happen. But we can have possible reasons, we can have possible answers, and we can give our opinion based on what's written in the book. So we may not be able to reach the depths and knowledge and wisdom and understand His ways, but we may be able to somehow try to answer them. Why did He allow this pandemic to happen? Number one, God allowed pandemic to happen to maybe challenge us, and maybe He is interested in our response, diba? So pandemic is kind of equivalent to pain and suffering, nabanggit ko na nga kanina. But pain actually, in reality, is not always something negative. Kasi minsan meron siyang positive aspect. Let's say for example, when we're touching hot objects, when our hand, the palm of our hands, felt that it's hot and we might get burned, then we'll quickly move it, we'll quickly take it off, diba? Tatanggalin natin yung kamay natin. So maybe this is a reminder that we should be, that there's something more dangerous than what we have been doing in our life, diba? It's a big, sabihin na nating paalala, or a reminder, a big reminder to everyone and who is getting busy with other things in life, diba? That maybe COVID-19 is trying to remind us that we are also vulnerable with diseases, that there's a day will come that we will all die, diba? And another positive aspect of pain is when we experience pain, we kind of excel. Let's say for example, athletes like Manny Pacquiao, when they train hard, then they expect that they'll be better on the day of the competition. But when they train, when they go to the gym, they'll grow muscles. When they work out, they'll improve their speed, etc. So when there's pain, there is gain. Okay, and another thing is when we suffer pain, we kind of develop our character. Diba? We kind of improve our character. We become more resilient and more experienced. That's why we'll become more wise as well, because we'll know what is more important and not. Diba? So maybe. So pain also, another example is that why parents sometimes allow their children to experience pain. Diba? Para maglaro sa labas, madapa, and matuto sila sa mga pagkakamali nila. And then next, the following instances or events, similar events na dumating sa buhay nila, they'll not do it again. Or rather, they know what to do. They'll be street smart. And I think maybe God allows this pandemic to happen, not only to challenge us, but to remind about our mission. Second reason why God allowed this pandemic to happen, because I think this is a popular one. So some people will say na God allowed pandemic to happen because we are sinners. Dahil tayo ay makasalanan. And I don't personally believe in that. Why? Because according to John chapter 9, Jesus healed a man in Siloam River. That's the story. So the disciples were asking him, Rabbi or teacher, who have sinned? This man, the blind person, or his parents, that That's why he was born blind. Okay, pinanganak kasing bulag na yung pinagaling niya Jesus dito sa Siloam River. At anong response ng Panginoon? Jesus answered them, this happened not because this man had sinned nor his parents, but this happened so that the works of God might be displayed on him. Anong ibig sabihin nun? So that the works of the Lord will be displayed on him. Di ba, sinasabi nga natin, laging dapat God is on a different level. And even sa pagkabulag ng taong ito, he will always find a way to find God. Diba? And he will always find a way to serve God. Na kahit siya ay bulag, makapag-serve pa rin siya kay Lord. That's why, ang sinabi doon, so that the works of the Lord might be displayed on him. Na kahit siya ay bulag, he'll be able to survive. He'll have other senses. He will receive love from other people. Pwedeng he will be challenged or pwede siyang layuan ng ibang tao or kutyain, but he will still find love in his family and friends and by serving the Lord. Ay, yun na nga, there's a point of time na he even met Jesus Christ and healed him in the river. So that's why umaangat yung gawa ng Panginoon at grasya sa mga taong nagdudusa. But again, it is not because he sinned nor his parents. And also in Luke 13, when the disciples asked Jesus why other people experience bad faith, I think it's in the context of when 18 people died, when the Tower of Siloam in Israel, or Jerusalem rather, 18 people died because of an accident. So sabi dito, bakit kaya may mga namamatay ng ganung klaseng kamatayan and while others survive? And when we come to think of it, bakit yung ibang tao ay nakaka-experience ng COVID-19? Tapos yung iba naman ay hindi. At yung iba naman asymptomatic, hindi namamatay, iba malubha. So, ibig sabihin, ano yung naging response ng Panginoon dito sa storya na to? Jesus told the disciples, they think that the people who have died were more sinful or were more of a sinner than the rest of the people living in Israel? I tell you this, no. The answer is no. Yun ang sabi ng Panginoon. Hindi dahil sa mas makasalanan sila kaya sila na-aksidente at namatay, kundi dahil probably we can never explain, but that's the plan for them. But one thing is clear, it's not because they are more sinful or they are a worse sinner than us and than the rest of us. And ganun din po sa lahat ng mga natapuan ng COVID-19. So I think we're be able to answer our second question. Why did God allow this pandemic to happen? He allowed it probably to challenge us and remind us of our mission. Second is we're able to negate the popular opinion that because we are sinners, that's why we are experiencing this pandemic, by stating some of the instances, similar instances in the Bible. And third question, so how should we live during pandemic? So pandemic is not something new in the history of the world. So in 430 BC, there's already the plague of Athens. That's the earliest recorded pandemic, and it was followed by Antonine plague and Justinian plague. And then in the 1350s, there's what we call the Black Death, which is caused by a bubonic plague, wherein 75 to 200 million died. Pero yun, parang inubos niya halos lahat ng tao sa panahon na yun, ng 1350s. And in just recently, 1918, we have the so-called Spanish flu, wherein 500 million people were infected and around 25, 50 to 100 million died because of this flu. And what are the current pandemics that we're having? Actually, in the 1970s, it started. We have the HIV or AIDS, wherein 38 million already died because of this deadly virus. And now we have coronavirus disease 2019 or COVID-19, wherein 32.5 million people were already infected and almost a million died because of COVID-19. So when everything is just beginning during this pandemic, we used to call this virus 𝗕𝗂𝗀 or novel coronavirus. So what does novel mean? Anong ibig sabihin ng novel? Novel means something new. So ibig sabihin, this coronavirus is something new to the humanity or to the peoples of the earth. And what does it imply? It just means that no one in the whole wide world has immunity against this coronavirus. That's why everybody is at risk to get infected. Walang pipiliing mayaman o mahirap, walang pipiliing bansa, first world, second world, third class countries, walang pipiliing malakas o mahina, lahat at risk to get this deadly virus. That's why it's called novel coronavirus. It's something new to the humanity. So pandemic is not something new. Hindi lang tayo yung mga nakaranas ng pandemic throughout the timeline of world history. And you know what? Even at the time when Jesus is still living here on earth, some 2,000 years ago, wala mang natalang pandemic at that time. But we know for sure, and even back by studies, na even the simplest of diseases, yung mga pinakasimpleng sakit, maaari mo nang ikamatay. Sabi nga yung kahit na tooth abscess, biruin mo, masakit lang ngipin mo and infected, you can still die from it. But nowadays, who dies because of tooth abscess? Or let's say for example, nasugatan ka and it gets infected. Diba? They don't have antibiotics. They don't use technologies. They don't have these medical treatments and medical professionals. They don't have these things. That's why, if we are suffering nowadays, let's come to think of it, Jesus also suffered and lived through a world wherein diseases are so random and it's everywhere in the streets. People are dying in the streets as well. Hindi pa nga tayo ganun kalala because we have a modern science and technology to back us up. So, ibig sabihin, in able to answer our third question, how should we live during pandemic? I think the answer is we should live like how Christ lived during his time. So how did he live? He continued serving the sick. Actually, he continued to minister to all kinds of people, whether poor or rich, whether sinners or not sinners, whether sickly or healthy. Ibig sabihin, huwag tayo dapat mamili ng mga taong pagmiministeryuhan. Huwag tayo mamili ng mga taong tutulungan, lalong-lalong ngayong lahat ay nakakaranas ng ganitong paghihirap. So, I think, despite na mahirap kumilos o mahirap magpagaling ng mga may sakit noong panahon ni Jesus Christ dahil wala siyang modern technologies, I think the thing that we should follow about his life is that he continued serving. Hindi siya namili. So let's say for example, in Mark chapter 5, Jesus healed the hemorrhagic women. Itong kwento na to, for 12 years, yung babae, she kept on finding ways, even consulting physicians, and even to the point na naubos na yung yaman niya just to be healed. But then, it just became worse, according to Mark chapter 5. Pero, anong sabi niya doon? If only I touch the garments of the Lord, I will be healed. At anong sabi ng Panginoon? Your faith has healed you. And she was healed. And in Matthew chapter 9, actually this is a similar story written in Matthew. Concurrently as the healing of the hemorrhagic women, while it's happening, actually Jesus Christ went to that place to heal, not to heal, but bring back to life a dead man's daughter. Diba? So in Matthew 9. And then when we continue reading on this Matthew 18 and onwards, Jesus also healed 2 blind men and a mute. And if we read more until we reach verse 35, Matthew 9:35, it's written, Jesus went through all the towns and villages, teaching, preaching the gospel, and healing every type of diseases and sickness. So nagpatuloy siya sa kanyang misyon. And I think, my dear brothers and sisters, tayo rin ay tinatawag ng Panginoon na despite the diseases and sickness happening all around us, kailangan tayong magpatuloy, kailangan tayong lumapit sa tao. And maybe some of you will question that statement. Hey brother, Jesus is kind of unique. He's not contracting the disease. Actually, nung meron pang time na he even touched a person with leprosy. And alam naman natin, ang leprosy is being transmitted with through contact transmission. That's why we do contact precautions for those. Hindi naman siya nagkaroon. So it is unique. Yes, he's unique because he's still God in mortal form at that time. But, okay, we can still live and minister like Christ, but we kind of do it slightly different this time. So what will be the same is our purpose or the love in the things that we do for other people, for our brothers and sisters. But we will do it slightly differently from Christ. Kasi nga, immune si Lord from diseases. He even healed them miraculously. But for us, we're still mortals. We're still human. We contract diseases. So how should we live doing this mission? 2019-2020, year 2020 way. Okay? So we're gonna do it. We're gonna show our love to other people in a distance. So we may be distant, but will remain available. We are distant, but still available. How should we do that? Just like, for an example, this virtual Bible reflection, I'm able to share the word of the Lord, but I'm not physically with you guys. But you can still hear me and see me. Let's say, for example, yung mga taong nagkasakit ng COVID-19, imbis na katakutan natin sila, pandirian natin sila, layuan natin sila, yes, we'll remain the social distancing and quarantine protocols, but we always check on them. Ask them what they need. Ask them if they're okay. Ask them if they were able to drink or take their medications. Ano pang kailangan nila? May kailangan ka ba? Paglalapit ka, you should have done your PPE, yung personal protective equipment. So mask, gloves, goggles, gown, and etc. So we'll use these current technologies, but we'll still reach them and show them love and represent Christ even from a distance. So that's how we should do it. Because if we will be insistent in doing ministerial works and disregarding all the rules, anong pwedeng mangyari? At the beginning of pandemic, there's a certain church in South Korea. They refused to stop their physical gathering. And what happened in the end? At the end, according to research, 60% of the total number of COVID-19 cases sa South Korea were actually attributed to them. Na-trace sa kanila. Na biruin mo sa buong bansa, 60% dahil nagpatuloy kayo sa pag-gather. Yeah, they don't have any bad intentions of spreading the disease. But then, by ignoring the rules, and I don't think God would allow us to do that, or God would like us to do that, by ignoring the government mandates about COVID-19 and continue with their physical meetings, then they cause 60% of the total number of cases in their country. Another example, it happened in Israel, a certain Jewish sect. 1/3 of the total number of COVID-19 cases in Israel was caused by a Jewish sect who refused to do social distancing and remain on living in poor environment areas, so closely living with each other, because they want to follow strict Jewish rules according to them, and they cost 1/3, 33% of the whole census of COVID-19 cases in their country. That's why, sabi nga, we should still follow the rules of our government while we are also following the rules of heavens. Okay, so, ano pa yung mga example na pwede natin gawin? Practical example on how can we represent Christ with other people. Halimbawa, we have extra PPEs or masks. We can share it with each other, or we can, although we lost our jobs, let's say for example, but we have some funds for food, then let's share it with other people. Let's share it dun sa mga hindi na makabili, or hindi na makakain, or hindi pa makabalik sa kanilang trabaho. Ano pang mga examples? Let's say for example, yung iba ay walang resources kahit tubig na paghugas ng kamay or sabon or alcohol. Let's provide them if we have. By doing such, we are still doing our work, we are still ministering to people, and also we are representing Christ. So yun yung mga samples. And actually, doing religious activities tulad nitong virtual prayer meeting natin or Bible reflections na ginagawa ng Jesus Once, and many other churches are still doing that. Malaki po yung naitutulong nito to fight off depression, anxiety, and fears na nararanasan ng lahat ng tao ngayong pandemic. Lalo-lalo na yung mga nagkasakit. Diba? Medyo lalayuan sila, lalayo sila sa pamilya nila. Ma-share ko lang po, even my fiancé, Sister RR, she got the disease and she was quarantined for over a month. She was not able to see her family. So, ang ginawa lang po namin is, I personally provided her needs and mga food, mga water, at lahat dun sa pinagstayan niya, because we was not admitted in the hospital, and we did it for a month. While I'm doing that, when I approach her, I have gloves, I have masks, I have PPEs. So that's what we do. And I talk to her through Messenger, kasi nga, nakaka-depress naman talaga, na may sakit ka na, pero lalayuan ka pa ng mga tao, and then you're not sure of what will happen next. Diba? If there will be some implications of their work, etc. Diba? So, according to John Lennox, he's an Oxford mathematician and a professor, and he wrote a book about this. And according to studies, and according to him, doing religious activities and having faith kind of helps people to not to lose hope, para hindi mawalan ng pag-asa during COVID-19. So kung iniisip nyo, we're not be able to help them physically, but by doing such virtual meetings, we're able to spread light and give hope to other people para ma-fight off po nila yung depression and anxiety na naranasan ng maraming tao sa mundo. So, faith gives hope according to this study. And he is not an ordinary person. He's an Oxford professor. So he must know what he's talking about. And, yun na nga. So kung I think nasagot naman natin lahat ng questions, and when we go back to our original question, which is the main topic of this, where is God during pandemic? Ano nga ba ang nasasagot natin? Ang sagot ho ay nasa inyo. God is in you and He's within you. So kung tatanungin po tayo, nasaan ang Diyos? Hirap na ako. Hirap na lahat ng tao sa mundo. Nasaan ang Diyos ngayong pandemic? At ang sagot po ay, God is in you and is within you. Remember the time when you were baptized in spirit, when you received God in your bodies. It remains in there, even during this trial. Nasa sa inyo ang Holy Spirit, and you have received the power to make the difference and continue the mission of spreading the good news all over the world, encouraging people rather, and spreading positive outlook or positive mindset. Imbis na katakutan natin yung mga nagkakasakit, we reach out to them, kamustahin natin sila, and ask them what do they need, and provide it if we can. Alam naman natin na lahat ay nahihirapan. Yung mga nagbebenta online, we kinda support them, because even if they lost their jobs, they try to find other ways or other means to earn some living, source of living for their family. So we try to support them as well. So sabi nga, when you have the Spirit in you, when you have God in you, you are powerful enough to make the difference. And we are still mandated by the Lord even during pandemic na to go all over all the four corners of the earth to give them the gospel of salvation, to provide and teach people to still trust the Lord and strengthen the faith despite all the challenges that we are experiencing this pandemic. So, bilang panghuli, I would just like to share my favorite quotation nowadays. So I've read this one. It is by Charles Spurgeon, who is a known preacher in the 18th century. So according to him, God is too good to be unkind. God is too wise to be mistaken. And when we cannot tell, or when we cannot trace rather the hand of the Lord, or when we cannot trace His hand, we must trust His heart. Ibig sabihin, ang mga nangyayari ngayon, alam ng Panginoon yan lagi. Napakabuti niya para tayo ay Kanyang pabayaan. Napakatalino niya para siya ay magkamali, na ang lahat ng ito ay pagkakamali lamang. Because He did allow this pandemic to happen. At nasagot natin yan sa question number 2. At kung hindi na talaga natin maintindihan, tayo hirap na, wala tayong mapagkunan ng pag-asa, at naguguluhan tayo kung bakit natin kailangan maranasan ng mga ito, then we go back and trust what is inside the heart of the Lord, the heart of Jesus Christ. And all the plans for us are for good. And maybe we are experiencing this pandemic just to remind us na we are all mortals. This is life here on earth is something temporary. We will all pass. We will all pass by and pass away. So ibig sabihin, we are being reminded of the more important things, and that we are vulnerable. Kasi baka nakakalimutan natin kung dahil tayo masyadong busy na sa ating mga buhay-buhay. So now I invite everyone to pray and have a moment of silence as I sing you a part of these songs. So let's just reflect and remember all the victims of this dreaded pandemic. Remember their families. Alalaanin po natin at ipagdasal yung mga pamilyang hindi na nakuhang iburol yung mga namatay nilang family members because of strict rules. Pagdasal natin yung mga pamilyang nahirapan dahil nawala ng trabaho yung mga breadwinners nila. Pagdasal natin yung mga businesses na nalugi. Some of the businesses, they try to flourish within 12 years, but within 12 months, naubos na lahat ng kanilang funds and resources. Lahat ay apektado. Let's continue to pray and reflect on those things as we continue to remember our mission. Amen and amen. Are you forgiver of my most unknown secrets? Provider of all that I need? Could you be brother, the one who knows better? Would you now stand in the lead when all this is over? And all the thunders and lightning, in the daylight, just what will I see? The answers to my questions, to all of my questions. Could you be Messiah to me? Could you be Messiah to me? Could you be Messiah? Please be Messiah to me. Natutulog ba ang Diyos? Natutulog ba? Sikapin mo, pilitin mo, tibayan ang iyong puso. Tanging ikaw ang huhubog sa iyong buhay. Huwag mo sanang akalaing natutulog pa ang Diyos. Ang buhay mo ay mayroong halaga sa Kanya. Bakit nga ba na ikaw ay maghintay, nahimukin pa, pilitin ka ng tadhana? Gawin mo na kung ano ang nararapat. Magsikap ka at magtiwala sa may kapal. Nakahanda ang Diyos umalalay sa'yo. Hinihintay ka lang, kaibigan. Sikapin mo, pilitin mong tibayan ang iyong puso. Tanging ikaw ang hubog sa iyong buhay. Huwag mo sanang akalaing natutulog pa ang Diyos. Ang buhay mo ay mayroong halaga sa Kanya. Sana po ay nakapag-reflect po tayo at nakapagdasal while we are hearing those songs. And I think this is where we end our Bible reflection for tonight. But one last thing. Meron tayong kind of simple presentation. Ganito pong itsura ng coronavirus. At yung coronavirus, corona, came from the Latin word which means crown. Okay? So it is a symbol of power, it is a symbol of authority, it is a symbol of, superiority. And ngayong may COVID-19 tayo, nararanasan ng buong mundo. Wala siyang pinili. Wala siyang piniling bansa. All countries, all kinds of people, even their churches, they're all closing. So, we recognize the power of this coronavirus. But then, sana, ngayong pandemic, huwag natin kalimutan na merong another type of crown that we should remember and recognize during this hardship. And that is this one, the crown of thorns. Ibig sabihin, when we look at Jesus, when we look at the face of Jesus our Lord, we gather up our strength and we ask for hope na sa pagpapatuloy ng ating buhay, mahirap man, sa pagpapatuloy ng ating pagmiministeryo, napaka-challenging man. We always look up to Christ and we ask for hope. We ask for strength. Humingi tayo ng pag-asa sa patuloy na pagtingin sa ibang uri ng corona. And that is the crown of thorns of Jesus Christ. And I think this is when we really end the Bible reflection. Medyo napahaba na po tayo. Muli ay binabati ko kayo ng happy 30th anniversary. And magkita-kita po tayo muli pagkatapos ng pandemic na ito. And let us continue to pray fervently ng mataimtim and with a lot of passion that the whole world will receive revival and restoration. Maraming salamat po sa pakikinig at panonood. Patuloy po tayong maglingkod sa ating kapwa. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Good night and God bless us all.